When I first took the assignment, I thought I'd be dealing with rogue panthers, rabid coyotes, maybe an alligator or two on a rampage. I never imagined I'd be sent after something no living biologist could name. But then again, when you're working for a black-budget agency that doesn't technically exist, your job description's always got some wiggle room. My name's Callum Rourke. I'm a field operative for the Bureau of Cryptid Affairs. Unofficially, of course. We're the people they call when the wild decides to get too weird and the local rangers stop answering their radios. This mission? It was supposed to be simple. A string of disappearances deep in Cypress Hollow, a swampy sprawl between Louisiana and Mississippi that barely exists on a map. The kind of place where people go missing all the time, where the only witnesses are gators and ghosts. But this time, it was different. The call came in after a group of university campers vanished. No trace, no distress signals, just gone. That's when the agency sent me and paired me with someone I'd only heard about in rumors. Her name was Arden Caney, mid-40s, ex-Marine turned tracker. Quiet, cold, and damn near impossible to spook. We didn't talk much during the prep briefing, but I liked her instantly. She moved like a predator, calm, measured, controlled. The briefing was the usual hush-hush nonsense. Satellite maps, local legends, high-caliber rifles, custom tranquilizers, and one or two gadgets so advanced they felt illegal to hold. The name the locals had for the thing? The Howler. But I've been in this line long enough to know it's never just a howler. We were dropped off at a ranger station about 30 miles from the hollow. The local sheriff, a pale, jittery man named The thing screeched, dropped me and stumbled back. Arden was already on her feet, blood streaking her face. She didn't hesitate, pulled a black combat knife and drove it into the creature's leg, slicing deep. I fired again, this time at the head. Finally, it dropped. Twitching, growling, dying. It collapsed into the mud with a heavy thud, shaking the ground. We stood there in silence, breathing hard, staring at the monstrosity we just killed. It didn't vanish like some cryptids do. It didn't dissolve or evaporate. It was real, solid, heavy, dead. "We need to bag it," Arden said, wiping the blood from her face. "They'll want to study it." I nodded, not trusting my voice. An extraction team was on site within the hour. The creature was loaded into a reinforced containment chamber. Back at the base, the scientists swarmed around it like buzzards. I didn't care what they found. I'd seen enough. After the debriefing, we got our next orders. New state, new coordinates, new hunt. It never ends. I glanced back at the blacked-out facility where they'd stored the body. Somewhere inside, the swamp beast waited to be dissected. It was just another job, just another day in a career most people couldn't even imagine, and I was good at it. But sometimes, when the swamp air turns still and the moon's too full, I swear I can still hear that thing breathe. When I was a kid, my grandfather used to sit by the fireplace, sipping rye and staring into the flames. He'd talk about things that lived in the woods. Not animals, not ghosts. Things. Creatures he said he'd seen with his own eyes when he was stationed overseas. I thought he was nuts. A war vet who drank too much and talked too loud. But now I think he was trying to prepare me. My name's Marlo Vexler. I work for a unit that doesn't have a name, a badge, or a number. We don't file reports. We clean up the things that shouldn't exist, the things that eat hikers, drain the blood from campers, and disappear without a trace. The government doesn't officially acknowledge our existence, and that's exactly how they like it. This time, the call came from a national park in Washington state, Black Pine, a thick forest stretching across steep hills and forgotten logging roads. Beautiful, untouched, and crawling with something wrong. The reports weren't unusual at first. A few hikers went missing. That happens. But then someone found a body, then another. Mutilated, twisted, bones bent the wrong way, skin pale as snow and stretched taut over the frame. But the strange part? Not a drop of blood left. That's when they called us. I was assigned to lead the field team, standard 4-person crew. Sharp, experienced, ready to die. There was Sutton, a sniper with nerves of ice. Rook, an ex-detective with a twitchy trigger finger. And Jules, our field tech. A genius in glasses who could turn a busted phone into a drone if you gave him enough wire. They briefed us inside a dusty ranger station. Overhead lights flickering, the windows fogged from the cold. An agent from the Special Incidents Bureau tossed a file across the table. "You'll want to see this," he said. "This one is different." I flipped through the photos. The corpses looked like it was tall, 7, maybe 8 feet, but thin, impossibly so. Limbs like wires stretched too far, covered in skin so pale it almost shimmered in the fire's glow. Its face was the worst part, elongated, mouth filled with too many teeth, and its eyes, there weren't any, just 2 smooth hollows. Sutton opened fire, clean shot to the chest. The thing didn't even flinch. It moved fast. Too fast. Sutton screamed as it grabbed her, lifted her like a puppet, then threw her against a tree. I heard something break, probably her back. Rook fired next. Missed. I didn't. My shot took it in the neck. Black fluid spilled, steaming against the dirt. It shrieked, not like an animal, but like metal twisting. Jules tossed a flare. The light hit it, and it reeled. Its skin cracked. Smoke hissed from its body. I didn't wait. I emptied the rest of my clip into its head. The thing collapsed. The air shifted. Warmer now. The pressure lifted, but Sutton was already gone. Rook was dying, bleeding out from a gash down his leg. Jules was pale, shaking. "That thing was intelligent," he whispered. "It was watching us." I nodded. We called for extraction, carried Sutton's body and Rook's fading one out of the woods, left the creature behind, its corpse already starting to rot in a way that made no biological sense. The official report says there were no survivors from the civilian group. Nothing about what we found, no mention of the forest. That's the way it always goes. Back at base, they patted us on the back, offered medals, papered over the mission like it never happened. But I know what I saw, and I know it wasn't the only one. This job has a way of getting under your skin. It whispers to you in the dark. It reminds you that some things don't have names, and maybe they never should. We don't talk about what lives in the forest, because sometimes it talks back. Some people get into this work for the adrenaline, some for the paycheck. Not me. I came for the truth. My name is Dr. Lennox Hale. I was once a wildlife ecologist, tenure track, lectures, late nights buried in field data. But all it took was one expedition in Sumatra that went very, very wrong. And suddenly, the Department of Aberrant Fauna was knocking at my door. Since then, I've seen things that rewrite the rules of nature, creatures that shouldn't exist, things that breathe wrong, move wrong, feel wrong, but nothing ever felt quite like Dagger Pine. It began with an old file, a cold case from a decade ago. Missing hikers, mutilated bodies, and a smell that refused to fade. The case had been buried in red tape, locked in the agency archives, until more bodies started surfacing in the exact same region. So they sent me and partnered me with someone less conventional. I'd read about Sarah Rios before, former Border Patrol tracker. She had a reputation, not just for finding things, but for surviving when nobody else did. Late 30s, lean, quiet. Her presence was unsettling, like she saw through people, but I trusted her boots more than I trusted most satellites. We flew into Burlington, then drove 5 hours west until the road stopped and the forest swallowed everything. Dagger pine wasn't just thick, it was wrong. The trees leaned in ways they shouldn't. The bark flaked like burnt paper. Even the air buzzed differently, like static without a source. No bird song, no chirping, just this low, ever-present hum, like the woods were whispering. "We're being watched," Sarah said, no emotion in her voice. "By what?" I asked. Her silence was answer enough. We set up base near a collapsed fire. I looked back once. Its body didn't vanish, didn't fade. It just sank, slowly, into the moss, like the forest had been waiting to take it back. The next morning, we were airlifted out. No samples, no photographs, just scars and silence. Back at HQ, they asked if we recovered anything useful. "No," I said, "but whatever it was home there, and we weren't." I've always believed fear is useful. It keeps your senses sharp, keeps you alive. My old man used to say, "Fear only kills the ones who ignore it." I never understood that until Devil's Cradle. My name's Elias Grant. I used to be a wildlife biologist, studied predators in the Rocky Mountains. I knew how to track wolves, tag grizzlies, even managed to survive a face-off with a moose in rut season. But none of that prepared me for this job, working with the Department of Containment and Anomalous Wildlife. Sounds fancy, it's not. Our job is simple. When something unnatural starts chewing through national park tourists, we go out and we put it down. This time, the call came from northern Montana, near the edge of Glacier National Park, in a remote stretch of wilderness the locals called Devil's Cradle. The name wasn't poetic, it was a warning. Reports were vague, like always. Strange howls at night, livestock mutilated. 3 field agents had gone dark over the past year. One returned in pieces. I was paired with 2 other operatives, Jonah Maddox, an ex-Marine with hands like tree trunks and a face carved from old stone, and Riley Voss, younger, sharper, former rescue pilot, who never said much but saw everything. We arrived just before dusk. The last sunlight barely touched the tops of the peaks. The whole forest seemed to lean inward, as if trying to whisper something no one should hear. The local sheriff met us at the trailhead. Old, drunk, eyes hollow. "Y'all looking for a bear?" he slurred. I shook my head. "Bears don't drag cattle up trees." He didn't argue. We set up camp near the last known kill zone. The air was thin, bitter, silence thick as syrup. That night we slept with loaded rifles and dreams we couldn't quite remember. We found the first carcass at sunrise, a horse, half-eaten. "Don't touch anything again," I said. "I didn't mean to," he muttered, wiping it on his pants. By noon, the fog rolled in, out of nowhere, thick, choking, and then we heard it. A low grunt, not a growl, not a roar, a grunt, like something testing its voice, practicing. We formed a circle, backs to each other, rifles raised. Then it stepped into view. It looked like a stag. At first, tall, massive, but its antlers were wrong. Too many, too long, curling like broken bone. Its body was covered in dark fur, but there were patches, open wounds showing black muscle pulsing underneath. Its eyes glowed yellow like swamp fire. But it was its mouth that I'll never forget. It opened sideways, and it smiled. I fired first, a direct hit to the chest. It didn't stop. Jonah followed, 3 rounds to the leg. Still nothing. The creature bellowed, a deep, guttural sound that shook the frost from the trees. Then it charged. Riley screamed as it rammed into him, lifting him off the ground and impaling him on an antler. I heard bones snap. He didn't scream again. Jonah went for its side, blade drawn, slashing hard. The creature backhanded him, and he flew into a boulder like a rag doll. I ran, not out of fear, but to draw it away. It chased me, crashing through trees like thunder. I could feel I've seen a lot of strange deaths in my life. Bodies torn open with no blood spilled. Men walking into the woods with smiles on their faces and never coming out. Trees that bled. But Granite Hollow, that place made even me feel like I didn't belong. My name's Silas Marin. I used to raise cattle in northern Nebraska. Tough business, honest living. Then the bottom dropped out during the crash of '09. And I found myself drifting, job to job, county to county, until one night I saw something drag a man into a cornfield and unwrap him like a Christmas gift. 3 days later, a man in a black suit knocked on my motel door and offered me a job. I didn't say no. That was 15 years ago. Since then, I've hunted creatures nobody talks about, things that don't make the news, that never leave behind a footprint, that laugh when you aim a gun at them. But the mission to Granite Hollow nearly broke me. The first call came from a search and rescue team. 6 hikers went missing, then 2 rangers. The local sheriff blamed a rogue grizzly. But when we got the photos from the first body they found, we knew it wasn't a bear. It was a school teacher from Casper, or at least what was left of him. His rib cage was torn open, not smashed or chewed, open like a surgical display. His heart was gone. His face was twisted in an expression I'd only ever seen in war zones. So they sent us. My team was solid. 4 men who knew how to survive the impossible. Taylor, sharpshooter. Madsen, explosives and traps. Vega, our silent tracker. And me, the guy who closes the case. We arrived at the trailhead late afternoon. Granite Hollow looked ordinary. Pines, cliffs, winding trails. But there was a smell in the air, faint, metallic, and slightly sweet, like rotting copper. We made it 2 miles in before we found the claw marks. Not on the ground, on the trees, 10 feet off the ground. Deep grooves carved straight through the bark like something had dragged butcher knives down the trunks. Vega stared at them and muttered, "This thing's not a predator. It's claiming." We pushed deeper. The woods got quiet. Too quiet. Our motion sensors, nothing. Not even bugs. The forest was waiting. That night we made camp. Around 2:14 a.m., the first alarm went off. Madsen sat up, rifle ready, but there was nothing on the cameras. Nothing on the perimeter. Just breathing. Low, deep, from every direction at once. We didn't sleep after that. At dawn, we moved again. That's when we found the clearing. It was perfect, circular, dead grass, a single deer carcass in the center, untouched. Eyes gone, mouth sewn shut, but there were no signs of a kill. It's staging, Vega said. For what? Taylor asked. Then the wind changed, and we heard a voice. Not a whisper, not a scream. Something in between. And it was saying our names. Each of us, one by one. We didn't ask questions after that. We moved fast. Tight formation, eyes on every shadow. But it didn't matter. The thing picked us off anyway. Madsen went first. He walked off trail for 2 seconds to relieve himself. Then we heard it, a wet, crunching sound. When we found him, there was nothing left but his boots, still standing, still warm. We ran. Taylor screamed something about a shadow moving sideways through the trees. Vega threw a flare. I don't know if it helped. The light only made the darkness look deeper. Then Taylor vanished. No sound, no struggle, just gone. By the time Vega and I made it to the ridgeline, we were barely holding it together. That's when we saw it, the thing. It was crouched on a rock, 20 yards off, humanoid shape, skin like burnt bark, black and cracked, long limbs, too long. The head was antlered, but not like any deer, more like twisted roots sculpted into a crown. Its eyes weren't eyes, they were holes, just pits where light went in and never came out. I raised my gun. Vega pulled a knife. And then it spoke, not aloud. In our heads, it said, "You were never meant to see me." Then it screamed. The sound shattered my left eardrum. Vega dropped his blade and covered his ears, blood pouring from his nose. I fired, over and over. The thing staggered. Then Vega rushed it. The fight was chaos. Claws, screams, blood. I watched as Vega plunged a silver spike into the creature's chest. It shrieked, a sound like thunder and weeping. And then it collapsed. Its body cracked, turned to ash, gone. We were both bleeding, both shaking, but we were alive. By the time extraction arrived, Vega had gone quiet. Didn't say a word all the way back. Just stared at the trees. They scrubbed the mission, burned the clearing, sealed Granite Hollow behind black tape, and a natural landslide cover story. But I know what I saw. And I know one thing for damn sure. That thing wasn't hunting for food. It was waiting for something. And if we hadn't stopped it, maybe it would have finally gotten what it wanted. I've always believed the desert remembers things people try to forget. Memories don't fade here. They just bake into the dirt. And in Sand Hollow, some memories bleed. My name's Arlen Vega. Used to be a mechanic in El Paso, scraping by fixing rigs no one else wanted to touch. Then one night, outside of Alamogordo, I watched something crawl out of a sand dune. Something with too many arms and no shadow. And I should have run, but I didn't. Now I work for a division so secret even the files about it are redacted. We handle things people don't talk about. When something in the wilderness starts breaking the rules of biology, physics, and reason, they call us. Last week we got a call from a sheriff's office near Sand Hollow. An isolated stretch of forest clinging to the southern end of the Lincoln National Forest. Jude looked at me. "You feel that?" I nodded. The dirt under our boots was moving, shifting. The thing didn't rise out of the ground. It peeled itself up from under it. At first, it looked like an emaciated bear. Long limbs, a back that hunched and cracked with every movement. But its face looked like a wolf skull, wrapped in stretched human skin, the mouth frozen in a grotesque grin. Rows of jagged teeth lined the inside of its throat like a lamprey. Its breath reeked of bile and decay. It moved like a spider, low to the ground, then suddenly upright, towering. Jude fired first, hit it square in the shoulder. It didn't even twitch. I emptied half a clip into it before it turned. Its eyes were black pits, reflective, not of light, of movement. It mimicked us, raised its claw like a rifle, tilted its head. Then it screamed. The sound wasn't loud. It was low and deep, like it was inside us, vibrating our bones, freezing the blood in our chests. Then it lunged. Jude went flying, slammed into a tree so hard the bark split. I dove sideways, rolled, pulled my sidearm. I could hear it breathing, not fast, but deliberate, like it enjoyed the hunt, like it was tasting the fear in the air. I lit a flare. The red light bathed the ravine in blood. The thing hesitated, its skin blistered in the light. Jude, bleeding, rose behind it. He didn't yell. He just moved, calm, precise, and drove a silver spike straight into the thing's spine. It howled, twisted, flung him aside, but it staggered. That was my shot. I unloaded everything into its skull. The creature collapsed, thrashing, convulsing, until finally it just stopped. The silence afterward was thick and broken only by Jude's labored breath. We burned the body, used magnesium to make sure nothing remained. But even as the fire turned it to ash, the ground kept breathing. Was it the only one? I asked. Jude shook his head. Number just the one that got hungry first. They sealed off Sand Hollow, called it an unstable sinkhole region, but I know better. Somewhere out there in the sand and pine, something ancient still stirs. And when it wakes, it remembers the taste. I don't talk much, not because I'm cold or unfriendly. I just learned a long time ago. Words don't save you when it starts crawling toward you from the trees. My name's EMT Reyes. Been with the unit over a decade now. We handle cleanup and confirmation. If you're hearing my voice, it's either because something went wrong or something died that shouldn't have been alive. This job took me to Blackroot Woods, a nowhere stretch of forest tucked into the base of the Siskiyou Mountains, where the pine trees grow too close and the ground is too soft underfoot. A team of hikers had gone missing. When search and rescue showed up, all they found were gear bags hanging from branches, upside down, 20 feet in the air. No blood, no bodies, just the word return carved into a dozen trees. We were deployed fast, me and 3 others, Erickson, our tracker, Hutch, the tech guy, and Clancy. Explosives, defense, and the only person I'd trust to watch my 6 in a place like this. From the moment we stepped off the chopper, I felt it. The silence, the pressure in the air, the way the trees leaned toward each other, like they were conspiring. Blackroot wasn't just abandoned, it was waiting. 4 hours in, Erickson stopped dead in his tracks. He held up a fist, then crouched, brushing aside leaves. Tracks, he whispered, but not right. I knelt beside him. The prints were massive, vaguely human but twisted, toes too long, the arch of the foot curving inward unnaturally, claw marks etched deep behind each step. This thing isn't walking, Erickson said. It's gliding. We followed them into a thinning patch of woods. The deeper we went, the more wrong everything became. The trees started bleeding, not sap, blood, sticky, dark, thick. Hutch ran tests, no explanation, and the smell, rotten pine mixed with burnt incense. Faint, foul, familiar. Clancy said it best. This place feels like it remembers pain. That night, the forest went completely silent. Not a breeze, not a creak. Even the air stopped moving. Then the thumping began, a rhythmic pulse like a war drum buried beneath the soil. It wasn't coming from one direction. It came from all around us. I ordered the camp lights on. Our gear flickered. Hutch's monitors went dead. Erickson raised his rifle. And then it appeared. From between the trees, something moved. It didn't walk. It unfolded, like a marionette being yanked upright by invisible strings. 7, maybe 8 feet tall. Its limbs were too long, bending at the wrong angles. Its skin was bark-like, cracked, embedded with bits of moss and stone, as if the forest had grown it. And its head was wrong. A mass of wood and bone twisted into the rough shape of a deer skull, but with too many antlers branching off like a tree struck by lightning. Its eyes glowed faint red, like burning coals buried in ash. We opened fire. The rounds hit. I saw chunks fly off, but the thing kept coming. It didn't scream. It didn't roar. It just smiled. And then it moved, too fast, too smooth. It grabbed Erickson first, lifting him clean off the ground and snapping his spine with one hand like it was plucking a flower. Clancy threw a thermal charge. The blast lit up the clearing, and the creature burned. It shrieked, a high, keening sound that made blood leak from my ears. I hit the thing with 3 more rounds, center mass. It stumbled. Hutch activated a sonic disruptor, but before it could fire, the creature split in 2. Literally, its body peeled open like a flower blooming in reverse. Tentacles, teeth, eyes, so many, emerged from within. Clancy didn't hesitate. He tackled it, wrapped a second charge around its core, and detonated it. The explosion lit up half the forest. When the smoke cleared, the thing was dead, or at least in pieces. Clancy didn't make it. Neither did Erickson. Hutch and I sat in the ash, ears ringing, hands shaking. The trees were still bleeding. The word return had reappeared on the bark, fresh and dripping. We got out. The agency called it a win. Contained, classified, buried. But that wasn't the end. 2 nights later, back at base, Hutch scratched something into his bunk. The crooked god still lives. He disappeared before morning. I never expected my life to lead here, chasing monsters through ghost towns and cursed woods. I was a park ranger once. Real badge, real uniform, protected tourists from black bears and slippery trails. But Bramble Ravine, this place wasn't made for people. My name's Hank Tatum. Now I work for a unit buried so deep in government paperwork it doesn't technically exist. Our job's simple. Find things that shouldn't exist. Kill them before they notice the world again. When the call came in from a stretch of Appalachian forest known as Bramble Ravine, I already knew it was bad. The report was simple. Multiple disappearances. Local wildlife gutted. Area abandoned. The name alone made my blood cold. Bramble Ravine wasn't just haunted. It was feared. The locals didn't tell ghost stories about it. They didn't talk about it at all. We touched down just after dawn. 5 of us. Leo, a tracker who never lost a trail. Sylvia, sharpshooter with a 1,000-yard stare. Jackson, our tech. Rafe, our field commander. And me, the one they call when things start to unravel. The ravine was beautiful in that way only cursed places are. Fog in the tree line. Pines so tall they hid the sun. The air felt old, like we were walking through the lungs of something sleeping. About 4 hours in, Leo found the first sign, an old campsite, torn to hell, sleeping bags shredded, food untouched. But something had scratched a symbol into the dirt, BOW. Not a name, a command. Rafe looked at it and just muttered, "This isn't wildlife." We found claw marks in the trees again, high up, deep, twisted, and we found blood, but no bodies. We followed the trail into a steep gorge. where the walls of the ravine grew narrow and claustrophobic. That's when Jackson picked up interference. Signals overlapping, frequencies bleeding together, antlers to dust. It collapsed, finally, dead. We didn't speak. Rafe was wounded, Sylvia bleeding. Jackson and Leo were gone. We limped out a bramble ravine with proof. Broken cameras, shattered equipment, scorched trees. No one wanted to see it. The agency sealed the ravine, put fences up, said it was unsafe terrain. Case closed, but I still dream of it. The word in the dirt, the hum in the trees, the voice in my head. It doesn't say run, it says kneel. I remember the sound it made when I shot it. That wet, torn gut howl. That scream that wasn't pain, wasn't rage, just disappointment. As if it had waited so long to be seen, to be remembered, and all I'd done was hurt it. That was 6 months ago. Deep in the Black Pine swamps, they told me I did good work. Clean kill. Extraction team confirmed the body. And yet, it's still here, not in the swamp, in me. My name is Marlo Vexler. I used to be clean, level-headed. I handled Class A cryptid hunts across 4 continents. I've shot beasts that defied gravity, fought things that screamed in dialects older than bone. I've watched friends be torn apart in complete silence. But Black Pine, that was different. That wasn't a creature. That was an invitation. After the mission, I went home to Boston, tried to sleep, tried to walk the dog, tried to forget the way its jaw split down to its sternum, the way it smelled like me when it bled. But every mirror in my apartment started fogging over at 3:33 a.m. every night. And every morning, a new phrase appeared in the condensation. You shot me. We remember. You're the hollow one now. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating, started recording everything. But every video I took of myself showed something wrong, just off. My pupils, too large, my smile, crooked, like something was practicing wearing me. When I told the agency, they didn't laugh. They just got quiet. Transferred me immediately to a secure monitoring facility in Idaho, Site Theta 5. They said it was precautionary. They said they were watching for neural residue. They never said the word possession, but I saw it in their eyes. Theta 5 is buried under 60 feet of mountain. No windows, no fresh air. Everything's painted white like it's scared of the dark. I've been in observation for 17 days, no contact, no outside light, just cameras and blood work and the steady plastic voice of a psychologist who doesn't even tell me her name. Every day they ask, do you hear it yet? I ask, hear what? They never answer, but now I know. 2 nights ago, I woke up in the cell's corner, curled up, naked, crying, scratching something into the padded wall with my own fingernails. A symbol, one I'd seen carved into trees in Black Pine, one I thought was just part of the creature's territory. But I know better now. It wasn't its symbol, it was its signature. Last night, I dreamed of the swamp again, but it wasn't quiet this time. The mud was boiling, trees bent in half like they were praying, and rising from the center, where I'd shot it, was me, another me. Same uniform, same blood-soaked boots, but his skin was gray, cracked like clay left too long in the sun. And when he smiled, his mouth opened all the way to his chest. Inside, just teeth. Teeth and a whisper that crawled up my throat like a living worm. You're not the hunter, you're the door. When I woke up, my bed was soaked in something thick and black. The containment crew burned the sheets, didn't speak a word. This morning during evaluation, I looked directly into the observation mirror and whispered, he's coming. They haven't brought me back since. but I know they hear the whispers too. In the vents, in the water pipes, even the security guards walk faster now. No one makes eye contact. The hallway lights flicker in perfect rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. Like a heart, but underground. Like something is waiting to be born. And today, someone new arrived in Theta 5. A patient, unregistered, no file, no escort. I caught a glimpse through the glass as they passed. It was a woman, wiry frame, black hair tied tight, scar on her cheek. Sarah Rios. She shouldn't be here. She vanished 4 months ago, declared MIA after the Hollow Woods mission. But that wasn't her face. That wasn't her walk. It was too smooth, too practiced, like a reflection that learned how to walk from memory. I don't know what this place is anymore. I don't know who's real. I don't even know if I'm me. But I do know this. The creature from Black Pine never died. It just needed a way in, and I gave it one. I haven't used my real name in months. Out here, in the frozen breath of the Vermont Highlands, names don't matter. Only silence. Only survival. My name is Sarah Rios. I was a tracker, worked with the department under off-the-record clearance, part of the Dagger Pine mission, the one they classified as resolved. It wasn't. We didn't kill that thing in the woods. We just interrupted its ritual. I've been living off-grid ever since. No cell tower, no radio. I burned every tracker the agency ever gave me. Learned to live by candlelight. My heart beat the only metronome I trust now. But even out here, especially out here, the woods remember. It started 3 weeks ago. The first night, I woke up to the sound of something scratching on the outside of my cabin wall. Slow, deliberate, like it was tracing something. I sat up, flashlight in hand, heart hammering. Nothing outside. But in the morning, I found a mark carved into the wood near my window. Command that crooked symbol. The same one I saw scorched into the trees of Dagger Pine. The same one that bled when I touched it. I didn't sleep the next night. The night after that, it came back. This time I heard footsteps. Not stomping, not clumsy. Paced, like someone was walking circles around the cabin. Testing, measuring. I waited until just before dawn and stepped outside with my rifle raised. And there it was, standing 20 feet from me. Not a creature, not a shadow, a copy of me. Same face, same stance. Even the scar across my cheek, perfect. But something was off. Its limbs were too straight, its head cocked too far. Its smile was stretched just a little too wide, like the skin was used wrong. As if someone remembered what I looked like, but didn't fully understand the shape of a person. And when it moved its mouth, it didn't speak. It didn't scream. It whispered inside my head. He's gathering us. The crooked god is almost whole. You are a broken piece. Return to him. Then it vanished. No footsteps, no breath. Like the cold had swallowed it whole. I've been preparing since then. Traps, flares, silver rounds. Not because I think I can win, but because I want to make it hurt before I go. But I made a mistake. I went into the basement this morning, the old root cellar I never used, and it was full of them. Copies, dozens, hung from the ceiling like drying meat. All with my face, all grinning, their eyes wide open, their mouths stitched shut with twine made of human hair. They weren't dead, not fully. They breathed in sync, a wet, whispery inhale, every single one. And in the farthest corner of the cellar, I saw one begin to move. It opened its eyes and said, "You cut him. You burned his skin. Now you will be his mouth." I ran. I don't remember unlocking the trap door. I don't remember getting back upstairs. I just remember the wind screaming through the trees and my own voice saying, "This isn't real. This isn't real." But it is. They weren't just trying to mimic me. They were becoming me, to replace me, to send something else back in my place. I've barricaded the cabin, rigged every window, poured salt in every doorway. Doesn't matter. They don't come from the door. They come from underneath. And now, I'm hearing the whispers when I'm awake. They say names I haven't heard in years. Marlo, Elias, Silas, Hank, the other survivors, the ones who escaped, the ones he's hunting now. We thought the things we killed were monsters. Turns out they were just pieces, offerings to something bigger, older, waiting. We didn't stop him, we fed him. If this message reaches anyone, don't trust the survivors. We're being replaced, one by one.